All right, my beautiful people, this is ERGJ back here with another episode here. Been putting in some work today, and we are back with the Freddie Gray information on the Freddie Gray case. And so, wanted to trying to pull up my chat here. It's not responding. Give me just a second here. Let's go here. So, wanted to yeah, here we go. 1 second. So we'll be talking about the Freddie Gray case here, and pull this chat up real quick. All right, so some new information that came out. So I figured that today, I just want to kind of, hopefully this will be the end. I don't know, but it's interesting information came out today, in my opinion. So I said, well, hey, I just knew another video to continue to follow up on the Freddie Gray case, and so just to kind of give you some framework here. Again, a lot of the stuff that we see is a lot of propaganda, and basically propaganda is just it's something that allows for the U.S. government to lie to the American people, and we're going to go through and start looking at this today. So let me go ahead and share my screen so that we can get right into this. I don't think it's going to take very long for us to do this. Today? Yeah, so let's go ahead and share the screen and we'll go through the story. So, propaganda, guys. In 2012-2013, the National Defense Authorization Act made it legal for propaganda to be used against Americans. And so, what is propaganda? Propaganda is the intention to sway public opinion by using television, radio, newspapers, and social media targeting the American informed people and controlled psyops. Controlled psyops means that that we have staged events. And so it's my belief that the Freddie Gray case was a staged event. And in my previous videos, I talked about how Marilyn Mosby was a plant. She was a patsy. She was put there by the state attorney's department to actually throw the case. I mean, to not win the case. She probably did a good job of trying to make it look like. Think, if you've ever seen the movie Sleepers, that's kind of how it is. She works for the state. She was 5 generations deep into law enforcement. Her job was to lose the case. And so we'll see what happens to her moving forward. But I thought it was an interesting story that came out just yesterday or 2 days ago as it relates to the Baltimore police dues doubled to pay for legal defense of officers in Freddie Gray case. So if you don't know, there was a countersuit against Marilyn Mosby that came out last year in 2014 or 2015 in April. And so they're suing, they were suing for, defamation and things like that. So let's kind of go through this story. The Baltimore Police Union faced insolvency and doubled its dues because of the Freddie Gray case. So here we go, footing the bill for a high-powered defense of 6 Baltimore officers charged in the arrest and death of Freddie Gray crippled. Let me brighten this up for you guys. Make sure you guys can see. All right, it crippled the city's police union financially. Officials said until members voted unanimously this year to nearly double their dues. So they're trying to replenish their funds after using their funds to protect the officers. So it's important that we recognize this union, because we have this this order of police that are all brought together by the union, who protects the police when they actually do something against the law, or they need to go to court. It's the union that protects the police. So many of us may not have known that. We may have thought, hey, this is all part of the brotherhood. They get legal protection or legal. They get someone to represent them legally as being a part of the union. This is why you won't see cops come out against bad cops, because they're all part of the same union. They're all part of the same brotherhood. So now, with the unexpected conclusion of the Gray case this week, the union's legal bills are expected to sharply drop off, but not the dues. Officials at Fraternal Order of Police Lodge number 3. I was interested in this word order, interested in this word police. Matter of fact, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Let's see if it pulls up for you guys. I don't know if it's going to pull up or not. Let's see. Nope, it's not pulling up. So I'll pull this back up. All right, so I'm trying to get the calculator, but the calculator isn't showing up on the screen. But at any rate, I thought I might be able to get it. That's okay. So the word order, just so you know, in Pythagorean numerology equals the number 33. The word police in Pythagorean numerology equals the word police. So office of the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge number 3, it's another 3, say they will continue collecting dues at the higher rate as a precaution, at least as long as Baltimore State's Attorney Marilyn J. Mosby is in office. And said, yes, we will continue the same dues structure because we expect Ms. Mosby to continue her inane, malicious prosecution of police officers simply for doing their job. So they're playing this role as if Marilyn Mosby is now the the enemy, so to speak. But they all work for the same club. It's a big show, just like the Republican National Convention is a big show, just like the Democratic National Convention is a big show. This is just a big circus. They continue to move the story along so they can keep people keep people's attention on a story that is completely fake and false, and that will keep us again from paying attention to things that really matter. Now, the loss of a life really matters, but the story that we're getting doesn't really matter because we're getting a story that's been scripted, and so we're not going to get the truth. And that's the problem that we have in the news. We're not getting the truth. We're getting a story, a well-scripted story. These are journalists. These are directors. They know how to write good scripts. They do it all the time. The same people who own Hollywood are the same people who are running these scripts. They know how to capture your emotion and your attention. So the decision is one more example of continuing impact on the Gray case and the animosity that has come to define the relationship between Mosby and the police union since she filed charges against 6 officers in May 2015. Now, what's interesting here, guys, is the play between the police, again, that's Black Lives Matter, and now you have this black attorney. So still the play on Black Lives Matter versus Blue Lives Matter. You see how they're connecting all of this stuff in all of their stories to keep having contention or keep having strife. So what's going to happen with Mosby? What's going to happen with Mosby is that typically all of your, let me see if I can get back to him. So look at this lady. I thought this was very interesting. She looks like she just looks so, look at her eyes. She just looks like an emotionalist. This is insane. I don't know what's going on with this lady, guys, but she looks like she has no emotion at all. You guys, you guys can watch this on your own, but something is going on with Ms. Mosby. Now, because she is a pretty face and a black lady, most black women are going to side with her regardless of what she says, regardless of what I say, because we tend to be biased towards those that look like us and that talk like us. But bear in mind the narrative. The narrative is Black Lives Matter versus Blue Lives Matter. You had a black guy, a young black man that was killed, and he's represented by a black woman. They lost the case. He lost his life. She lost the case. You don't win against the Blue Lives. It doesn't matter. Again, so we have the same thing that's going to play out with Philando Castile. Alton Sterling. We had a black life that was lost. He's represented by a black female attorney, and the same thing is going to play out. They're going to lose, and again, you're going to have black lives losing again. The story always losing to the Blue Lives. Do you get it? This is the narrative. So fight as much as you want, but that is the narrative. Now, so on Wednesday, Mosby dropped the charges against 3 of the officers after 3 others had been acquitted. So she's talking in this. I don't know if this video is coming in. I can play this video if you guys want, but you gotta let me know if it's coming in because I don't want to play it and it's not coming in. So who's here with me? Can anybody hit a chat and let me know? I'm gonna play just a little bit. and you let me know whether it's coming in. If it's not coming in, I don't want to sit here and waste time and listen to it. Is it coming through?
I mean, this is a long sort of process. Like I said, it was after a great deal of thought and prayer. It was after the judge came to the conclusion. And
look at emotionalist. Oh my goodness.
You know, you have an arresting officer, which is going to be the same information that we're going to utilize in this next trial.
All right, so no one's chatting with me, so I don't know what's coming in. I'm gonna keep going. All right, so union officials who say defending the officers has cost the organization hundreds of thousands of dollars have rallied against Mosby's decision to press charges, calling her prosecution malicious and Gray's death a tragic accident for which the officers are culpable. They've argued the charges have no bias in law. Mosby has argued that the officers were responsible for Gray's death from injuries suffered in police custody. She maintained that stance this week, even after dropping all remaining charges. So you dropped all the charges, but you maintain that they're responsible. I don't understand what is going on. Just a big circus. She said Wednesday that she is not anti-police. Of course you're not anti-police, because you have 5 generations of police in your life, in your lineage, in your bloodline, but she's anti-police brutality and promised to continue fighting for justice for Baltimore residents as long as she has a job in Baltimore. So we're talking about $7.4 million, the cost of trials in this Freddie Gray case. Now, here's my question, guys. Who in the world pays these dues that they're doubling? Who pays that? Does that come out of the taxpayers' money? Who pays the union dues? That is what I'm looking for. That is what I want to know. Oh, the video came through? Oh, it did? You want to watch the video? Okay, let me go back, because I think it's important. Okay, so the video came through. Okay, so let me go ahead and let y'all listen to this video from Marilyn Mosby. Now, the whole time that you guys are watching this video, I want you to pay attention to her face and notice. This is a stretch, but I believe this thing called MK Ultra, this mind control that you see with like Draymond Green, you see it with a couple different people at times. I think that this is the role that she's playing. So anyway, that's just my opinion. That's my conspiracy to my reach there. But you tell me what you guys see. Do you guys see any? I mean, do you see any emotion while she's talking? It's just funny. Look at how wide her eyes are. It's just very odd.
So, I mean, this is a long sort of process. Like I said, it was after a great deal of thought.
I'm going to pause it because I want you guys to make sure you're paying attention to her eyes. Most of you guys are going to pay attention to her lips while she's talking. And I've been trying to explain to you guys, when you guys are watching video, you got to pay attention to what they don't want you to see. In this video, they're going to want you to look at her mouth moving. That's what's moving. But you got to train your eyes to start looking at other things. That's why I'm telling you, look at her eyes the whole time and ask me if it seems a little funny to you.
In prayer, it was after the judge came to the conclusion in all of these cases where, you know, you have an arresting officer, which is going to be the same information that we're going to utilize in this next trial. You have the evidence that we provided for the wagon driver. We have the evidence that we provided for the highest ranking officer. It became pretty clear that, you know, pretty much the way that this system is set up, what the likely outcome was going to be. And so it was just a question of, do we take this all the way to the end, or do we try to expose the sort of systemic issues that we were faced with from the start, in the very start of this case?
Was that like a last night decision 2 weeks ago? Like, when did you finally say?
I mean, it's something that I've been grappling with for some time. So it's not something that was overnight. It's something that I just tried to really rely on my faith and to say, you know what, team,
I want you to see something as well.
This is what we're going to do. This is what I think is in the best interest of trying to address those systemic issues that we were faced with in trying to prosecute this case.
Did you want to go forward? Were you ready to go somewhere?
We were ready to go forward, but what we wanted to do was what was in the best interest.
Grappling with for some.
Now, I found this interesting. This picture right here showed me a lot. She continues to look over here to her right, almost as if to get some signals from the person that's sitting next to her. We call this a handler. It seems to be that this individual, who's a white man,
so it's not
who's over here, is her handler in this interview. I just thought it was interesting that she continued to look over there as if she didn't know what she wanted to say.
For the highest ranking officer, it became pretty clear that, pretty much the way that this system is set up, what the likely outcome was going to be. And so it was just a question of, do we take this all the way to the end, or do we try to expose the sort of systemic issues that we were faced with from the start, in the very start of this case?
Is that like a last night decision 2 weeks ago? Like, when did you finally say?
I mean, it's something that I've been grappling.
Look, you see that? See, here's the deal, guys. Here's what I want to point out. This woman is a lawyer. She is trained to speak in front of plenty of people. But in this interview, she is searching for words. It doesn't make much sense. She's used to supposedly handling cases. If she looks shook, you know what I'm saying? Like, this does not sound like the same confident woman who was supposed to be so upset after she dropped the charges. If you had so much evidence and you were doing so well and you knew that the system was set up against you, and we already know how the system is, then it just doesn't make any sense why you would drop the charges. I mean, you already knew that you were going to lose, but then after you lose, you're going to go and start doing all these interviews. Like, it doesn't make any sense. That's what I'm saying. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. Where else on earth do you get a speech from the losing team? It just doesn't make any sense. So I'm fully convinced that she is a plant. I'm starting to believe that the white guy that's over to her right is her handler in this interview. She doesn't sound like the same confident person that was represented after her first interview after the trial. Something is seriously going on here with Ms. Marilyn Mosby. But let's get back to this story here, guys. A spokeswoman for Mosby declined to comment Friday. The case cost for attorneys of $450,000, according to city officials. Gray, 25, died in April 2015 after suffering severe spinal. We know that story there. So if they have all this money that the union spent and they're doubling dues to recoup the money, who is paying those dues? Where did that money come out of? What benevolence fund? Who pays that? Does that come from does that come from taxpayers? Who pays the union? Who pays dues to the union? That's a good question. I got to do some more research on. So although the attorneys were working at a reduced rate for the officers, the union said, the bills piled up. By January, Ryan and other union leaders feared the organization could quickly become insolvent and unable to provide any of the benefits, legal or otherwise, that are currently offered. The union spent $800,000 in legal fees in 2015, the vast majority of that sum on the Gray case. That represented a 200% increase over the previous year, documents show. Officials also saw no end in sight for the mounting costs, they said in a letter explaining the situation to members. So you got a union and you have members, and the members of that union would now pay double to replenish the cost that the union just spent on this case. And what if the union is filled with police officers and they have to double their cost of dues to this union that protects them? That keeps the police officers poor, just like the poor people that they supposedly protect. This is why the police, when I talk about the police, they're the front line. The police that we know, the black and blue, they're the front line. They are the peons of the governmental system. The same way that the regular common folk of America, the poor people, are the peons or the slaves that are in debt of the corporate or the government of the corporate structure. We pay debt and we pay interest, or we're in debt. We pay interest back from our student loan debt, our mortgages, our credit cards, our cars, our houses. We pay that in interest, and it makes the corporations who oppress us financially richer while we stay poor. Police the same way. It looks like if they are the ones who pay into this union, that's coming out of their paycheck. And all of the brotherhood, all of the fraternal order are paying to help keep these cops out of jail. This is why cops won't rat on cops, because their finances are tied to one another. If that is the case, and that is my guesstimation, we can all look at union and do a little bit more research on that. So union officials were facing mounting legal bills for the foreseeable future and feared the prospect of having to defend more officers in court, given Mosby's stance in the Gray case, which they felt was an aggressive overreach. Meanwhile, protracted litigation with the city over the union's pension fund continued, and negotiations surrounding the new police contract loomed. So if you think about a union, like just say the NBA, they have a union. You know, some corporations have unions. The unions work on behalf of the employees, supposedly. So in this case, the union is working on behalf of the police. But I wonder who the union in this structure, in this fraternal order, who the union is actually, who controls the union? Because they're not. I doubt that they're an independent entity as it relates to the police. All right, so I thought this was very interesting. To their credit, the local FOP up there reached deep into their pockets to cover the phenomenally expensive defense of the 6 officers. And we know the 6 officers are off, so other outside groups were raising money for the 6 officers charged, including selling T-shirts. But Ryan said those funds were used to financially support officers personally. So we know that people will step up and they'll do GoFundMe accounts. They'll sell T-shirts. They'll do things to financially support. Typically, this is going to be your white middle class, but they'll do things to financially support cops. They truly believe that the cops can do no harm. You typically find them on the left wing. That, you know, cops are almighty and they do no wrong, regardless of how much wrong that they do. So they'll raise money for these cops in their cases to keep the cops, you know, with their families and not be estranged fathers, because typically as men that we're talking about as well, they really step up for their own. What we got to understand is the blue lives. So in this case, we had 3 Caucasian cops and 3 African-American cops, and they all got off. So it wasn't a matter of white men killing a black boy. It was blue lives versus black lives. The black lives were on one side. You had Freddie Gray, Marilyn Mosby. That was the black lives that are impacted. That's going to have a negative impact in this story. You have the blue lives, who are the cops, who is the government, who is those that are above the cops, the fraternal order, the brotherhood, the shield. They are protected by the union. It was all set up for them to win. They never lose. You don't be, it's just like going to, like they say in gambling, the house always wins. You got to understand that they are the house. We're going to their house and the house always wins. So the money helped to financially support the 4 of them were not being paid as they awaited trial. The officers charged with felonies were suspended without pay. So they're wanting to recoup all their finances back into the union for going through this hoax. We know that the money's going to be coming in from somewhere, but this is just another story about the finances that are coming right back into the union, who protects those who supposedly serve the citizens. So I thought this was an interesting story, because when I first read it, I was like, man, are the cops getting paid more? But that's not the case. This money is going to the union, and the union as a whole is what's used to protect the cops. So when we see future cases like Austin Sterling, like Philando Castile, we're going not up against those cops. We're not just going up against the government. We're actually going up against the union as well, which protects the cops. The house always wins. So anyway, just want to do a quick video on this to update. I've been doing quite a few videos on the Freddie. I did 1 or 2 on the Freddie Gray case. I think this is going to be the last one. Because we're going to start to see Marilyn Mosby fade off into the sunset. We're going to see this story leave mainstream news, because news stories that come, the biggest stories coming up are going to be on the Olympics, and that starts Friday. So you can expect to hear more and more about Zika, more and more about the Olympics. That's going to be next week's story, or the next 2-week story. Everything's going to be about the Olympics. So here's the deal, guys. I want you guys to remember that it's important that you leave your curiosity. That you pay attention to your curiosity, because it's your curiosity that's going to lead you to truth, and it's the truth that's going to set you free.